Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to the Agatha Christie murders. It is a little bit of weird on this game that the audio is just kind of completely silent when you're on that front menu, but honestly, that's probably how every front menu should be. Um, it's weird that they exist at all and they wouldn't just by default jump into the first profile and then say, have a button here to switch profiles. Otherwise, or that you would think of the press A to start screen as a attract mode like you would have on an arcade machine or a pinball machine, something designed to get people's attention to play. But you don't really need that in video games, do you? Like, that's a thing only that makes sense in arcades. The only reason why those screens exist is because they are part of the certification, or at least they were in the old days, for Xbox and PlayStation style games, console games, in that those first screens work no matter what. If you don't have hard drive installed, they still work. If you don't have internet connection, they still work. They are the 100% fail safe to show at least you can get this far in a game, which doesn't really solve or prove anything. It's just kind of an arbitrary requirement that more and more they're getting rid of, and thank goodness. Uh, Now, it's been a while since I played, and I am a little anxious about potentially being 34% through with the game and having less than a third of the ego points. But I guess I can't really do anything about that, so let's hop into the game. Um, so we had found out a bit of information, and I guess we're going to continue to question Megan, which is the sister of Betty Barnard. Yeah. And honestly, I feel like we're probably not going to get any
Family photos
useful,
and files.
any information. Like, I suspect this murder doesn't have anything to do with that. Interesting, you can see a stiff walking animation that happened there as he ends on his heel and then slides a full step forward with his other foot. Which again, that is kind of the problem with potentially having
They're
a,
always modest, but the Barnards are definitely music lovers.
a having a 3D game where you then need to animate the walking animation is that extra effort that, while I can appreciate it, I can also recognize why you might just want to go with a flatter 2D animation that is probably a little bit easier. What gets me here is, unless we're going to get a whole bunch of extra ego points later on, I don't know what I missed so much that I could potentially be 50 ego points short. Unless you just have to get all the questions correctly when you're interviewing people, which I don't think I'm going to pull that off.
It looks like this woman is single, but she has feelings for someone.
No wedding ring. Eyes brimmed with tears. Betty and Donald. She was in love with Donald.
She's looking so intensely at this photo. But is it really a sister that she's studying in this manner?
Yeah. I imagine what we're going to have, and then we just got another achievement, is a case where nothing we find out here really matters. So what had Betty planned to do with her evening? She planned to meet someone. She used to go out a great deal. There are a lot of visitors this time of year. So, was she dating this guy? Maybe? We don't have enough evidence yet to solve that one. Seems like it's fairly obvious that we definitely have only some bits of information when they unlock some of those observation things. You can't click on pictures, and this is just looks hand drawn, but they say it's a photo, which that's slightly confusing, but I definitely suppose the answers asks that question.
They made the perfect couple, am I correct?
Yes, in a way. She was pretty and he...
Well?
He's a bright man, with a promising career ahead of him. He would have made Betty a good husband. He was always attentive and generous. Oh, a true gentleman.
I hear a note of envy in your voice.
You must have heard wrong.
So, we get a start here with 2 prompts. Let's go with this one.
Donald appeared to be very much in love with your sister.
Yes, he was mad about her.
Mad, you say? Being madly in love can often be destructive, and Mr. Fraser was known for being jealous, I believe.
No more than average. Men are always slightly possessive, especially when they are with a pretty woman.
Ask her to cooperate or accuse her of lying. What? I mean, I guess you go cooperate here, because I don't know what I'd be accusing her of lying of.
I am not your enemy, Mademoiselle Bernard.
And you are not my friend either, Mr. Poirot, sir.
Yes, but your lies are not helping Mr. Fraser, or you, for that matter.
Let's see.
I know that Fraser was jealous, but I wonder why you feel the need
See,
to
I've
protect
kind
him.
of forgotten all the
Protect
story
him?
up until this point.
I
I
hope
should
you're
have
not suggesting...
taken a
That you are
break
Fraser's accomplice?
in between.
There is nothing to suggest that, at least not yet. It would appear that your sister's murder is the second in a series that we have to stop as quickly as possible. The first was in Andover, and the same as your sister, the murderer sent me a letter informing me that a crime would be committed in that town. Now can I count on your honesty?
Yes, you have my confidence, Mr. Poirot. Don is a quiet and sensitive young man. Slightly reserved, too. And as is often the case with reserved people, when he flew into a temper, he completely lost control. He could be so violent. Betty was frightened.
And when was this?
The first time was about a year ago. But they rowed more recently. Donald found out that Betty had lied to him. She said she was going out with a girlfriend, but she went out for dinner with a married man. It was an awful scene. She told him that until they were married, she was free to go with whoever she pleased. Donald turned quite pale and started shaking and kept saying one day...
Well?
he'd commit murder.
Let's see. I, once again, don't really know which one to answer here. I feel like you'd either have to have played this game before or read the book and basically have memorized the book. It's a weird system that where you have to kind of convince these hostile witnesses to talk to you, whereas most mystery stories, very rarely do you have a hostile interrogation going on. Usually people are more than willing to give you information, even if they're lying to you, and you find that out later. It seems like an odd speed bump to writing a story or playing a game to say, oh, first you have to use your charm and wits, which I don't know if Poirot really has enough charm and wits or intelligence to manipulate people. There is an interesting point to be made that when you look at like Sherlock Holmes, particularly the early Sherlock Holmes stories, Holmes has like no emotional intelligence at all. He's very specifically written to not have any emotional intelligence, which is a phrase that often I don't think really even existed when most mystery stories were written. And instead detectives were highlighted for their basic scientific or deductive abilities, scientific intelligence, whereas it makes a lot more sense in the modern time, realizing that 90% of your interaction in any kind of murder mystery and a real crime is going to be about knowing the inner workings of the minds of the people, and that knowing the emotional intelligence. Like most crimes are done with some level of emotion behind it. So yeah, I just don't think you'd write Poirot as that kind of character. You would more write Poirot as kind of a Watson character, or if Watson was a psychologist instead of a doctor, which, yeah. And you often see them make up for the fact that a lot of the writers who write characters like Arthur Conan Doyle and Poirot, they try to make up for the fact that they probably didn't have that much emotional intelligence either, since that probably wasn't even a thing when they were writing, by saying, oh, well, I saw a slight twitch in the eye, or I saw the eyebrows raise, and they made up this kind of fake pseudoscience that really has never been proved, that people have just tells that are completely 100% scientifically provable. Sure, some people have tells, but it's never as accurate as it's depicted in TV and entertainment. Let's see.
So you were afraid that he would become our main suspect. I know that Fraser was jealous, but I wonder
gave
why
me
you
3
feel the need
points,
to
but I
protect
don't
him.
know if that
Exactly.
was the good amount.
Had you not told me about
or
the
the
case, I
wrong
would never
amount.
have dared to tell you about this little matter. Don loved Betty with all his heart. I can't imagine for one instant that he would hurt her.
Very good, Mademoiselle Barnard. Thank you for your help.
There's just like no way to go back and test
Fraser
that.
is at the Ginger Cat. The police haven't spoken to him, but they want to.
Très bien, Hastings. Let's see him now.
And then
Au revoir,
we
mademoiselle.
again are
My
run
deepest
into
condolences to your parents.
a scenario here
Of
where
course, Mr. Poirot.
you are
And don't be too hard on
walked
Don.
out of a room as soon
He's
as
more
you do
fragile than he
something.
looks.
If you say so. Let us now try and get our brain cells to work.
It's weird that they're still translating that from little gray cells to brain cells. So I guess I shouldn't bother to even do these until it jumps me to them, because it's just a waste of time. Unless it gives you more ego points for potentially solving a puzzle early, but I don't know if you really can. What's interesting is now the background here, where is that shop for rent background. So that seems like that's always going to be the same background blurred out, and I suppose that's fine. Maybe there's something about the shop for rent that I'm not certain of. Okay, which of these is the right one? Betty lied to Donald because she had a date with another man. Did Betty know her assailant? Well, I mean, it is possible that she was strangled because her assailant pretended like he was putting on her necklace and then pulled really hard, or was into some deep choking fetish, and then, or said he was into something like that. But It's also very possible she didn't. So is that the answer? No. So it almost certainly has to be this. The man seduced Betty before taking her to the beach where he strangled her. How do we
Let
know
us
that?
now try and get our brain cells to work.
What is Megan Barnard's behavior hiding? She kept looking at that. And she really liked Donald Fraser. Megan has a soft spot for Donald. Did Megan Barnard have a motive for killing her sister? Yes, Megan was jealous of Betty. But see, how do you start to point the finger at the sister and say that the sister seduced the other sister? That goes into a weird direction. Because the murderer clearly is being assumed to be a man. It's really pointless to come back and look at all of these just to mark them as not that. See, odds are we haven't even met Donald yet. See. So yeah, how many points does it give us for doing that early? We don't even know. Let's see, we need that clue first. One clue available. Receive new thumbnails. The inquiry is processing. Plus 10 ego points. Let me test and see if we can observe Hastings.
Hastings always pays more attention when young women are being questioned.
Yeah, that's an observation, but no ego points or anything around that. I would think it would be fairly premature to...
You've seen Fraser, Hastings. What is your feeling?
He's a big chap. Fragile isn't exactly the word that springs to mind.
It'd be
I
premature
talked to his
for him to
landlady
be the
before seeing him.
murderer.
She went to bed at 11. Fraser wasn't home yet.
Bien. Megan Barnard said he is a reserved character but with a nasty temper. We will see if this is the case.
This is an interesting cutscene because once again it doesn't lip sync to at least the English. Maybe it lip syncs to some other language.
This is definitely where the photo I found in the hut was taken.
It would be nice if there was a counter in specific areas to tell you whether you found everything or not.
This is definitely where the photo I found in the hut was taken.
And then we're once again hitting that problem where
This is definitely where the photo I found in the
I
hut was taken.
cannot figure out how to get past this this edge easily. And we'll try and observe Hastings again.
Hastings appears to be ill at ease. He appeared to be relatively indifferent to Mrs. Asher's murder, but a young woman's murder seems to be troubling him greatly.
So, are we supposed to perhaps have a conversation
I
with
fear
him?
that this case is far from being solved.
Come on, Poirot. You'll find the killer.
Seems like you
Certes.
just get the
But
same
how many
prompt.
times will he kill before Rydo?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's a large amount of random conversations there. that they expect you to have. And so we're back into this area.
What a pity. I don't have any change to make it work.
And see, what we might want to do is talk to this lady.
I don't want this young man here. Be quick and do what you must.
So she can't confirm if he was the person drinking before. We can't even observe him, so...
How do you do, Mr.
we
Fraser?
just go straight to a conversation.
Hercule Poirot. Mr. Hastings said you wanted to speak to me.
Yes. I know that it may not be at the right time, but I would like to ask you a few questions.
Yep. He looks like one of the British actors that played Doctor Who, that David Tennant, I think. Like one of the better in the Doctor Who reboot characters. I wonder if that means there was an ABC Murders like miniseries / movie, and that character was played by that actor. That would make sense to me. You get a little sound effect every time you do something. It's supposed to be for your ego. Why can I not click on them is the question. I have to hold, I guess.
This man looks suspicious.
It's probably a bit of a stretch to say he's... he looks like David Tennant, but he kind of looks like him. So what's the third thing we're looking for here?
Leave me alone.
Crumpled clothes. And then the mouse cursor jumps in the
Donald
center and kind
Fraser
of locks
is in a
up
terrible state.
as
As
it's
if he
loading.
hadn't slept all night. And he's drinking white horse.
Which that's what...
Leave me alone.
Wasn't that the clue before, is that... Can we go back and look at some of these? Yes, we can. But you'd still... Even if you did go back and look at some of these... Yeah, you'd have to know which one to look at. An unaccompanied guest came to a ginger cat and ordered a white horse whiskey. Okay. So that's
Tell me
probably
that's
a
mistake.
big
That
clue.
Betty isn't dead.
Sadly, your lady friend has been murdered, Mr. Fraser.
Oh, Betty, if only you'd listened.
Ask if he saw Betty yesterday afternoon. Say that Betty only ever did as she pleased. Ask what would have happened if she had listened to him. Let's go with that. I mean, he started a conversation. We might as well go down that path.
If she had listened to you, she would still be alive. Should I take that to be a confession?
With that sort of thinking, you must send a lot of innocent men to prison. Under different circumstances, I might even find you amusing, sir.
It's no time for amusement, Mr. Fraser. It is time to find your fiancé's killer. Did you know what her plans were for the evening?
She said she was having dinner with her sister.
Let's see. Specify that her sister was in London. Ask why he believed her. Is this true? Does it matter if it's true? Who cares? Let's click
Yet,
on it.
Megan only returned to Bexhill this morning, Mr. Fraser.
I didn't know.
Right.
3
May I ask
points
you
seems
what
to
you were
be the
doing
best
yesterday evening?
answer
I spent the
response.
evening working.
And then you seem to get
Your
bonus
colleagues can
points
confirm
at
this?
the end of conversations.
No, I often take work home with me.
You are lying, Mr. Fraser. as was Betty when she hid the fact from you that she was seeing other men.
Betty was a very decent young woman. How dare you sully her memory?
That only gave me 1 point. Apologies for having been abrupt.
I am not interested in memories of
I don't
her,
think
Mr.
Poirot
Fraser. I
apologizes.
am looking for a killer, and I need you to be my closest ally. That is, unless you have something to hide.
Of course I don't.
Très bien. So, what were we saying? Where were you yesterday evening?
I looked everywhere for her, but in vain.
See, I
When
feel
she said
like
she was going to have
maybe
dinner with her
these
sister on a weekday,
conversations
I thought it was
loop
strange. I tried
back
not to think
into
about
each
it, but
other.
I was like a lion in a cage.
And so maybe I
was
skipped some
convinced she was
conversations
lying.
in previous interviews
So I went round all the
and
restaurants in the
missed
town.
some points to get
When I didn't find her,
some,
I went to the next town. But
get
nothing.
more ego points.
I must have got home about midnight or 1 o'clock.
Did anybody see you?
I don't think so. I didn't talk to anybody. I was so furious.
Is that believable?
Ah, I knew I'd find you here, Poirot. I thought the
Weird
victim's
jump.
young man was here.
Yes,
Weird
is all
jump.
yours, Chief Inspector. Let us now try and get our brain cells to work.
So it's gonna just tell us his it's just gonna tell us his alibi. Interesting. We are now looking at the shopping cart of that first scene. So apparently they're gonna get good use of that first sequence, even though there was really nothing there to see. I doubt we get more points if we had clicked on this the first time versus other times. Does he have a motor? Yes. Apparently being Does he have a motive for all the murders? No. Not all of them, just this one. Donald may have killed Betty, but he does not have a motive for Miss Asher's murder. I think the motive could easily just be because if I was going to really speculate here, I would imagine the murderer had an abusive, neglectful mother that cheated on the probably not married father, and he grew up to become deranged, and he's now seeking to kill other women who cheat on their men because he can't kill his own mother because she probably recently died, thus triggering this serial killer. That's pretty much how I would write it and what I would be looking for. So I would be, at this point, if I'm going to try to be my own Sherlock Holmes, I'd say, let's go back to the obituaries in the last 6 months and see all the women who have died in the UK, which is a massive amount of people, I'm sure. And then eliminate any that don't have children. And the children would have to be of somewhat adult age. I doubt this is a 16-year-old doing these murders. I would limit it down to London and near the stocking shop at this point, and because clearly this person is riding the rails on a consistent basis for one reason or another, and that's how he's finding his victims. The alphabet obsession, I don't know where that specifically would have come from, and so that'd be hard to figure out. But yeah, I seriously doubt we are getting anywhere close to finding the murderer with this guy. We got 2 more achievements. This game is just really handing them over fairly quickly. And 3 more points. Now, it would be very funny if it turned out that that there was...
Fraser doesn't have
we've
an alibi
already
and he's
met the
extremely
murderer.
jealous.
I doubt
You
it.
are very skilled at summing up.
And yet you haven't asked Jap to arrest him.
It is too soon. But I agree. Without the letters announcing the crimes, Fraser would already be behind bars. Bon, I think we have enough elements. Let's reconstruct the events at the scene of the crime.
There is a
I
possibility
can't
here
imagine how the murderer wasn't
that this
seen,
is
though.
just strangers
Surely
on
she
a
must have
train.
struggled.
Let us try and imagine the scene.
It could be that the jealous husband of the first victim murdered the second woman, while at the same time the
The killer and the victim are walking on the beach.
the
Miss Betty has a
jealous
bag,
boyfriend of
belt
the
around her
second
waist,
victim
and carries her
murdered
shoes in her hand.
the first woman.
Both of them walk
And then
slowly
they
to
both-
act number 5.
Get, let's see, 5. I thought she was in number 6.
Miss Betty enters the hut.
No. It wasn't hunt number 5. Let us think again, mon cher.
Yeah, I thought it was 6.
The killer and the victim are walking on the beach. Miss Betty has a bag, a belt around her waist, and carries her shoes in her hand. Both of them walk slowly to hunt number 5. Both of them walk slowly to hunt number 6.
Yeah. Weird that it goes 5 then 6, because then it's definitely 4, 3, 2, 1 at that point.
Miss Betty enters the hut.
But what's weird is
She
it doesn't
leaves
show
without her belongings.
the...
Then she hides a code.
Oh, it did show the hiding the code. I wish the mouse would kind of disappear more often in these reconstructions. Let's see. I think we probably advance, otherwise she would be...
They keep walking. Then she removes her belt.
The murderer moves behind her and then attacks her by surprise.
Why would she remove her belt and stick it
The
around
body
her
falls, lifeless,
throat?
on the sand.
Throat.
Everything appears to match the crime scene, mon cher Hastings. That is exactly what happened.
See, why would she change and still keep the belt if the belt wasn't part of whatever? I mean...
Without the ABC, we might have suspected Mr. Asher and Mr. Fraser. But by signing
Is
these
she in a
crimes,
bathing
the
suit
murderer
at
is
all?
making sure he's
Was she
accused.
planning on
In a way,
swimming, or
it is
did she
very
just
generous
change
of him.
clothes in general?
Generous? The murderer seduced Betty in order to lure her to the beach and kill her.
Indeed, the young woman was certainly careless.
She didn't
But
have her
not stupid
shoes.
enough to follow a stranger.
What are you planning to do, Poirot?
Return to London, mon cher Hastings.
So it feels like the murderer must be dating these two victims. Well, needed to have been at least dating this one. So we don't have anything new here to do. And so we're just being told to go back to London. Yeah, she didn't have her shoes on, so she was taking some kind of romantic walk along the beach, but she did have this...
A braided silk belt. It may have belonged to the victim.
But yeah, why she would take the belt off is really questionable. And why she would stick around her. Interesting, that gave me plus 10 ego points. Ooh, can you then potentially just cheat the game
The young woman wasn't wearing shoes or a coat, and was not carrying a bag. That's strange. Either the murderer stole her belongings, or she put them somewhere safe. Maybe so that she could bath.
And is that going to give us another 10 ego points? No, so probably I got 10 ego points for something completely different there, and it just made it look like I got the 10 points for checking, double checking. If that's not the case, then it definitely feels like you might want to go back and just like double check on everything.
This is definitely where the photo I found in the hut was taken.
This is a game that feels like it should just kind of jump you forward in some sequences instead of potentially making me have to figure out that I am in need of walking towards this car, this taxi cab that's way back here.
Right, back to London. There is nothing more for us to do here.
I'm coming, Poirot. According to the guide, the next train departs shortly.
Right, back to London. There is nothing more for us to do here.
Same line of dialogue for two different triggers next to each other is pretty bad design.
Jap has decided to reveal details to the press. The alphabet murder is now famous.
This is kind of an example
It is not a bad
of
idea. The more
the
people who know,
weird
the
cross
greater our
animation
chances of
styles
finding
here,
out something of interest.
where you have probably pre-made candles
Poirot, I
and
have a bad
newspapers,
feeling.
but then you have more of a artistic, almost hand-drawn skinning of the 3D models for Poirot and Hastings, and when you
Poor
put the
Mr.
two
Poirot,
together,
not so good at these little criminal matters as you thought yourself, are you? Rather past your prime, perhaps. Let us see if you can do any better this time. This time, it's an easy one. Churston on the 30th. Do try and do something about it. It's a bit dull having it all my own way, you know. Good hunting.
he seems
Ever
to
yours,
murder
ABC.
once on the last day of the month.
Good
Yeah.
hunting. Did you hear that, Poirot? The murderer seems to be taking it all as a game, a challenge. He will strike on 30th in Churston. We must warn Scotland Yard.
See, which is more ego?
No time to lose. We must prepare our suitcases for Churston.
Mon Dieu, it is already 10 o'clock. I will call Scotland Yard immediately.
That was probably the wrong prompt. Now, are we going to get more ego points from coming back to the office and looking in the window?
In his haste, Hastings tore the envelope.
Like, apparently we are. So we'll just walk around here. Hastings Hunt. Photo book.
Hastings' photo album. He is very proud of his bag.
We're not going to be able to turn this to C.
Bexhill-on-Sea, Sussex, population 24,703.
We're just looking around.
Daily Flicker, July 30, 1935. ABC affair, no progress. The alphabet murderer is still on the run. Ever since the police found the connection between the Bexhill and Andover affairs, the inquiry has barely progressed.
See,
In this issue, we are publishing provocative letters sent by the killer to Hercule Poirot. Unfortunately, they have not yet helped to find him.
I would imagine if it was the strangers on the train type scenario, finding a third person willing to murder a third wife for C
Daily Flicker,
is highly
July the
unlikely.
26th, 1935. The Bexhill Horror. Young maid strangled on the beach. Killer
Although,
struck at midnight.
it wouldn't be a terrible thought if, like, there was a murder mystery where an entire group of like
some cool hair.
secret society members decided to trade off murders as far as different people killing different wives. And here you have a very linear tear, which seems like that was just laziness on the part of the animators, where it would have made a lot more sense for there to be much more of a paper tear there. Be interesting to know if in 1935 if they did cancel stamps by stamping them, and if stamps actually looked like this. Also, this seems to say like 25 cents. So, yeah, that seems like that'd be fairly expensive.
It is not a good time.
And see, I know I got an achievement for sitting down. That gave me another ego point.
It is not a good time.
Alright, so I imagine I'm supposed to call.
Hello, Jap. We received a new letter from ABC in the 10 o'clock post.
Where and when?
In Cheston. Today.
Today? I'll inform the population immediately.
I'll check the train times. Call me back. It is not a good time.
At this point, what are we supposed to be doing? Compare the new letter with the other ones on ABC. Guess maybe I have to just look at the letter.
Poor Mr. Poirot. Not so good at these little criminal matters as you thought yourself, are you? Rather past your prime, perhaps? Let us see if you can do any better this time. This time it is an easy one. Cheston on the 30th.
This is
You try
kind
and
of
do
slow.
something about it.
It's kind of slow
It is
because,
a bit dull,
in
having it
particular,
all
since
my own
it's
way,
trying
you
to
know?
push you
Good
towards
hunting. That are
towards the
yours.
next action
ABC.
and the next case.
It is not a good time. It is not a good time.
I mean, am I not supposed to be comparing the letters? And don't I do that on the table? Isn't that exactly how this went last time? White Horse Mansions. When it's White Horse Missions, I think.
It is not a good time. There's definitely something that's making sound effects. Oh, wait. It's him. Hastings is packing something. Guess I was supposed to observe this first. Hastings, what you are doing is an absolute disaster. That is no way to pack suitcases.
Heavens, we must hurry. We have to get to Churston before the murder.
Let's see. What I think Poirot is going to point out, order is essential. It would also make a lot of sense for them to always have a backpack.
Hastings, order and method are always necessary, regardless of the circumstances.
Okay. I'll let you pack them.
Interesting. So we're going to get a
All the same,
mini game.
It really is a disgrace to leave your belongings in such a mess.
I wonder if Poirot represents some OCD tendencies that Agatha Christie herself probably may have had. I'm not going to say probably. I don't know.
Voila. It only took a minute.
Poirot, you were right. I've just consulted the ABC guide. There's no hurry. The next train doesn't leave till 11:45.
You see, there is no need to hurry. We will not be in Churston until tomorrow morning, after the murder.
But why
Be
has the
funny if
murderer
he
warned us so late?
missed.
It's not what he usually does. Did he do it on purpose?
Very good question, Hastings.
If he missed his own
We
timeline.
should also compare the letter we have just received with the other two. Although I have very little doubt about what we will find.
And see, now, once again, we have another achievement. That makes me think that if we look at this now, we'd be able to see C's.
We've missed the 6:45 train, but we have plenty of time to catch the night train.
And see, that's something that we had already looked at. See, he's just walking in circles now. Like he has no default orientation, so he's just been programmed to walk in circles. That's the danger in programming of having 0 be a default number when 0 should probably not be used at all. So let's just assume that this character is programmed where he could be anywhere between 1 and 360 degrees different angles. 0 probably should be a special case to say don't turn at all, even if 0 degrees is the same as 360. By default, if it's not filled in, it will be 0. Right, so now we can do
Let
this.
us compare this new letter with the second one.
We'll play up until this
Let us
section.
examine this more closely.
Until we leave this section, and then we'll call it a day.
Certain characters in the two letters may have similar defects.
So we can...
The W is not printed properly. Of course, the W characters in the two letters do indeed have the same defects. I have to find some other similar defects to confirm my theory.
I doubt the trick here.
Let us examine the characters in this word.
I don't think that's right.
Let us examine the characters in this word.
Just trying to click on
Right.
the I.
Let us compare this with the other letter.
Trying to click on the I.
Yes, this I is weird. However, the characters in the two words do not match.
Interesting. So believe must line up with a B, an I, or E, or V.
Let us examine the characters in this word. Yes, this I is weird.
Interesting.
However, the characters in the two words do not match.
So you can pretty much just click on anything if you can click
Yes.
on it.
The I characters in the two letters do indeed have the same defects.
So I could be losing
I
ego
have to
points
find some
here.
other similar defects to confirm my theory.
And I guess at some point you might very well have a scenario where
Yes, the A appears to be quite unusual.
some letters just don't have the same
That's
defects.
right. The A characters in the two letters do indeed have the same defects. My theory was right. These two letters were written with the same typewriter.
We kind of had already proven that, so I guess we're just once again.
Let us now try and get our brain cells to work.
And that gave us 3 ego points, which feels like the default. Why did the murderers wander so late? Piece of the envelope had the wrong address. Is it because he released information, or is it because of the ABC guide? Guess it's not because he wanted to. Letter C was sent at the right date. The letter arrived late because it was an error in the address.
The letter should have arrived in time. The postmark shows that it was sent 3 days ago. However, our man made a mistake in the address, which explains the delay. All the same, the post office took their time correcting the error.
Come on, Poirot. Your address is not quite as well known as that of Scotland Yard.
Doesn't seem in line with somebody who had already sent
Poirot,
2
the
letters.
telephone. It must be Jack.
To the location, and it's not really in line with someone who would be obsessive or intelligent enough to specifically make a plot to kill a different person, a different woman every month based on the alphabet.
I have some news from Churchton.
It would be a very
Bad
annoying
news, I'm afraid. Sir Carmichael
mystery.
Clark was murdered while out on his evening walk.
Sir Carmichael Clark. The name is familiar to me.
He was a famous throat specialist, one of the best in London. A wealthy man, he retired to Combside, a beautiful house by the sea. He collected antiques.
Are you going there?
Yes, let's meet on the train.
So he was one of the men sleeping with the other 2 women, which doesn't seem to then imply that there is a specific hate just for the women who are cheating on men. It seems to be that he hates people who are cheating in general. That would imply to me if the serial killer was going this route, he was probably
The victim is called Sir
probably
Carmichael
had a
Clark,
mother
one of the
and
best
father
throat
who
specialists
cheated
in
on
London.
each other.
The body was still warm when we found it. If we'd been warned earlier, we definitely could have saved him.
It appears that the murderer made a mistake when he wrote his letter.
A mistake? Lucky for him.
And what if he did it on purpose?
No. He's defined his madcap rules and he's sticking to them. It's a matter of pride for him. Shall we go up to the house, Poirot?
You go, my friends. I will come soon.
It's better for the story, though, that we do have male victims. It would have gotten fairly bad to have only female victims. That being said, there are a decent number of people in general here that are not really being fully invoked. Like, Betty Barnyard is just a female victim we never even talked to. Alice Asher, another female victim. Donald Fraser, we had just one conversation with the alibi. Nancy Bodley, we had 2 conversations with. The Ginger Cat, we had 1 conversation. The niece, we had 1 conversation with. Megan Barnard was, yeah. I don't remember who Megan Bernard is. Franz Escher. Yep. They're starting to mix these 2 characters of the secondary group together as far as the Andover and Bexhill characters. And it could be that the story further goes down the path of having us investigate and intertwine the two murders. But I suspect that's not really what's going to happen here, is that while there clearly is going to be a connection, that the throat specialist had some connection to the two previous victims, maybe he wasn't really sleeping around with them. If this turned into more of an extreme reveal that actually the two victims were in a high-class prostitute ring, and the doctor was the pimp, then that might bring in more people, certainly, and more motive for potential murder. But otherwise, it's just going to be this doctor was sleeping with two women, maybe three, maybe on the fourth murder. If we get to a fourth murder, we will find that there's a new victim that has no connection with any of the previous ones. It would make some sense, too, if the doctor is the linchpin, where two different women were connected to him. It might be that somebody was specifically targeting the doctor and knew he was sleeping with two women and decided to kill the two women first, then kill the doctor and make it look like it was a serial killer going through the alphabet. This makes a lot of sense considering he's only a C. It would make a lot less sense if his name started with like a W, because that's just too many people to potentially think you could get away with murdering before getting to your true victim. Alright, well, we've gone an hour. I'm still mostly enjoying this game. Taking a little bit of a break in between the first couple of recordings and this one was probably a mistake. There is an amount of exhaustion that a game like this can put upon you, just because you're doing some kind of pointless observation stuff still. This game does a murder mystery as a point-and-click adventure way better than any of the other games I've seen, but there still feels like there's some grindiness here and there. Like packing your suitcase, for instance, was a pointless addition that was unnecessary, and looking around trying to find ego points is becoming a little grindy versus being a fun way to find Easter eggs. And getting so many achievements seems kind of ridiculous. We have 16 of 50 achievements. There's no reason for this game to have 50 achievements. And that if there's any chance of me actually getting all the achievements, it seems like I would have to... I'm only maybe a third of the way through with the game, and I think I'm probably further than that, closer to 40 or 50%. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.